Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moltz, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
During the pandemic, funding for small businesses and nonprofit organizations got a lot more difficult. But what grants are available now? My next guest is Libby Hikind, a national grants expert, established a grant writing agency in 1994. From 1991 to 2001, she created the Grant Watch, a grant newsletter publication for nonprofits and small businesses. Libby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what happened during the pandemic for small businesses and nonprofits when it came to grants?
Well, once the pandemic hit, all of a sudden, everybody wanted to help. And so you found that corporations, foundations, government agencies, everyone was getting into it. And there were so many grants that we needed to create a coronavirus COVID-19 category on Grant Watch. And we have filled it up, and we're constantly adding new grants that we found that are being put out. It's still going on. It's still very strong.
So that's really interesting. So I would expect you to answer, well, grants kind of dried up. But what you're saying is that corporations actually stepped into the void and said, we want to help.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And it's nonstop. Everybody wants to get in on it. And my staff, they felt terrible with everything that was going on. They had people, in their families and distant cousins and friends that were getting ill, and they couldn't do anything. Everybody was kind of like stuck in their homes, all offices closed. Everybody was working remotely, and they wanted to feel they were doing something. And it became such a challenge for everyone that works for Grant Watch to locate a grant that would help with the COVID recovery. And that's what happened. And it was just such a great feeling for my staff to be able to put in this extra work. And the corporations and foundations and government agencies, they were also coming through. So it was just a great initiative that we put out there.
So I just want to make sure we have a definition of a grant. A grant is money given to an organization that doesn't need to be paid back, right? It's a gift. It's a donation.
Right, but it is a gift or donation based on what you write in the application. So if you create a budget in your app, which most grants request, when you create a budget, you have to identify how every penny of your request will be spent. And then when the money comes in, you need to open up a separate account, earmark it. This is what nickname the account, whatever the funds are from. And only spend it according to that budget. And if you're going to make a change because, you were purchasing laptops for a workforce development training program, and it turned out that the store down the block wanted to donate to your organization laptops. And so now instead of needing 20, you only need 15, and you have the amount of money for 5 of them available, and you realize, I would like to hire a mentor, just putting this all out there, right? A mentor to teach workforce training skills on a one-on-one basis or something like that. So now you have to contact the funding source and tell them you want to make a budget modification. So when you're given money and it's a gift, it's a grant, you need to spend it according to how you said you were going to spend it.
Now, is that because the organization actually comes back and takes a look, or you're just ensuring if they do come back and take a look, you're protected?
Well, some funding sources ask for a final report and want to look at how the money was spent, and some don't. So you have to always be protected. You don't want to be one of those people that end up in the newspaper. We've all read the story.
At least not for that reason, right?
Yes. We want to be in the newspaper for the great things we do, not for the stupid things that people do. And we've all read articles where somebody got a grant and they bought themselves a new sports car, right? That wasn't what the money was intended for. And so it's a misappropriation of funds, and you never want to get into that.
So Libby, tell us what kinds of things are available that a lot of small business and nonprofits know nothing about.
Well, what we have on Grant Watch is we have a recipient category. So you can put in whether you are a nonprofit, small business, or individual searching for a grant. And then you have categories. And we have, I think, about 59 plus categories at this point. We add new ones every time there's a large influx in a certain industry. And you would then see what's available. The grants range really many different areas, but right now there's a lot, as we said, to aid in the recovery for the pandemic, to retrofit your business in some way, workforce training, operating costs, employee salaries, mitigating revenue losses, expansion of a business, marketing costs. These are all things that come up, they come out, the deadline passes and it's not there anymore. So the minute you see a grant that's available, you want to start your application. You don't want to wait, because by the time you're ready, it's gone.
And what kind of dollars are available? Are we talking about $10,000, $100,000, $1 million?
It really depends on the industry, because if your industry is energy, then we're talking in really large numbers, because they want a lot of research to happen. They want innovations. So it really depends what you're doing. And if you, let's say it's a workforce training grant, if it's from, I don't know, some barber shop kind of organization, it's going to be a lot smaller than if it's from the federal government to create new avenues for people to find jobs. So it really depends.
No, so does this also vary by state and also town?
We categorize by state. So we do have a USA category on GrantWatch, but we list all the states, provinces, territories, federations. We list, besides the United States, we have Canada, Israel, and international. International is like a generic kind of, so everything will go in there that's international. But in the USA, we do it by state. And so if you're in California, you're going to look at california.grantwatch.com. And in there, you'll see different towns and cities within California, and you'll see general California, and you might even see USA, because California, of course, is part of the USA. So that's how you will look at GrantWatch, by category, by your location, by who's the recipient of the funds.
So you've probably looked at, thousands of grants. Any ones that stand out as being especially innovative or interesting or special?
Well, I asked my staff just before I came on to list some grants that we like. And I had them look, and so I got a few from them. And here we have grants to Washington businesses in eligible locations for support during the coronavirus crisis. Grants to Illinois small business to offset revenue losses related to COVID-19. Grants to U.S. small businesses for support to offset the negative financial impact of COVID health crisis. And it just goes on and on. I found one, Back to Business B2B grant program. I'm giving away the title of an actual grant. And then I went and I did a look for myself to see, wow, how many people, what are the largest grants that people are looking at this moment? And it's so varied of what people, when they see a title, where they're going the same way. You go into a library, everybody picks a different book off the shelf, right? And certain words just speak to certain people. Here's one, grants to USA Black-owned businesses to alleviate the adverse financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, being given from the Coalition to Black Businesses. And that's due September 30th. So that's, something, that's what I was saying. You just want to jump on things right away. Here's one. This is for individuals. Grants to USA female professional athletes for child care expenses.
From the general to the very specific. So it seems like there's really a grant for every small business, nonprofit, or person. You just got to look and find.
You just have to look, and you have to understand, we are not one of those DVDs you could buy years ago, and there was just a whole list of foundations on there, and you'd have to research the foundation and find out when a grant is available, or if it's a family foundation, they're not giving grants. We are a living, breathing search engine. We add new grants every single day, and we archive grants every single day so that we're fresh, constantly restocking, filling up the shelves of what grants are available. So if you don't see something today, you might see it tomorrow or the next week. And you just have to kind of be in this to win it.
So how do you maximize your chances of actually winning a grant in any particular industry?
Well, the first thing is never apply for something where you don't meet the eligibility requirements. Because if you look at it, you go, well, maybe they'll like me. You're not dating. You have to be eligible for that particular grant. So if you're not, you have a choice. One, if you're not eligible and there's somebody else, some other business or nonprofit that you can team up with that would then make you meet all the eligibility requirements, then you can apply. I always use this as an example. If you're running a workforce training program and the federal government also wants you to have some kind of childcare program or parenting program connected to it, because job retention always has to do with the stressors that people have in their life. Right. So if they don't have childcare or they can't manage their time management or something like that. And don't feel that you can teach that or provide that service, but some other organization that can, or you belong to some small business networking group and you want to walk in there, hey, this is available. I just need somebody who can do this, who can, right? And you want to team up, then you can apply. But if you can't, if you don't meet the eligibility requirements, like you have to be in business 5 years to apply, but you're only in business 4 years, don't bother, because you're going to do all this work. It's going to go in the trash.
So make sure you meet the eligibility requirements. What's another great tip?
Okay. Another great tip is your passion needs to jump off the paper. Really, that's why I always recommend Grant Watch also owns Grant Writer Team. So they're separate corporations, but we're all together. So if you need a grant writer, I recommend you use Grant Writer Team. But I always say write your first grant yourself, because that's how you'll get your passion out. You'll start to get it on paper. The reader has to see it. It has to pop, because they get so many applications. And that's really what makes you stand out above everyone else.
So what you're saying is you just can't mail this in, right? You've got to really show some passion and some thought behind this. Right.
And then if you want my other tip, it would be follow the directions of the application very, very carefully. If the application if you're submitting, let's say, a Word doc for the application, and they told you to use 12-point font Times Roman, and your margin should be an inch, then do it. Don't say, but it looks nicer in 14 and I like sans serif better. Follow the directions, because these things get your application thrown out. The federal government is so specific on an application done. So if I was to tell you, you need to be eligible for what you're applying for, you need to follow directions, and you need to have your passion jump off the page.
So, Libby, how long does it take on average to actually fill out one of these grant applications? I'm sure it varies, but how much time should a small business, think that they should spend on these types of things?
Well, they really need to first take a look at the application, because you can have a one-page application that's online, check a few boxes and submit, and that's not something we're really not discussing that kind of application right now. Even if they have a one-pager, there's going to be a paragraph or two that you need to fill in, and that's really where you're going to shine from someplace else. But I've written grants that can go from, I did a 5-page application, and every section had a word count. The hardest thing I ever did, because they had specific questions, and I needed to fill that into that word count. And I kept rewriting to make sure I got everything in there, as opposed to a 100-page application. And I could keep going, and I can add another 100 pages of appendices to it, which was great because I had so much to offer and to insert. Whereas another application, well, you can add one page of appendices, and then and there's a word count. So I can't give you an answer. I can tell you that the federal government, they're very kind, and they list how many hours they suggest that you'll need to complete the application.
And Libby, what do you think the expectation should be as far as success rate? I mean, if I submit, 10, I might get 1, or if I submit 100, I might get 1. What's your experience been there?
Again, these answers vary so much. The first thing is, with a business, don't look at a grant that this is going to save you. And you continue spending the money because you applied for a grant. You really have to manage your business well. And I've noticed you've written a lot of books about managing businesses and everything that goes into one. But so if somebody says, I had a staff member leave me to go to work for this new company, and she said, well, they had ping pong tables and pool tables and swings, and they wanted us to be creative, and we had these little hubs and everything else, and we're getting laptops. And I was just like saying, oh, I feel so bad for you in my mind, because that business is going to close. They just opened, they're spending all this money, and they haven't raised, nothing, right? Don't do that. Don't look at the grant that this is going to be the free money. It's coming in and you can spend everything you want. You have to stick to a budget. This is the cream of the crop, the cherry on the top of what you're doing. This is going to help. A business will help you retrofit, a grant will help you retrofit, expand, or do something. But if your business is not operating the way a business should be, no grant is going to save you.
Well, Libby, I appreciate you being on the show. Where can people reach you? I assume at www.grantwatch.com?
Correct. And we also have an email, support@grantwatch.com. The phone number is on the top of the website, and there's a chat button. So we're available through chat, phone, email, and of course, grantwatch.com. Just start searching.
Well, Libby, thanks again for joining us. And I want to thank everyone for joining this week's radio show. I got to thank our sponsors, Nice Job, the amazing tool that can make it easy to build more reviews to grow your business. To get started, go to https://nicejobs.grsm.io/Barry and get $50 off. I also want to thank Plastique, a smarter payment platform for your small business. Go to plastique.com/Barry, and Plastique is spelled PLASTIQ, and get a special offer there. Thanks to our incredible staff, our booking producer, Sarah Schaffer, and our in-studio producer, Lady B, our marketing manager, Courtney Gilchrist. If you're serious about being successful in this post-COVID economy, give me a call, 773-837-8250, or email me at barry@moltz.com. Remember, love everyone, trust a few, paddle your own canoe, and go out there and get vaccinated. Have a profitable and passionate week.
You can find Barry Moltz on the web at barrymoltz.com, or more episodes of Small Business Radio at smallbizradioshow.com.